Life is lessons turned to blessings.
Life is.
All of the drama, the decompression.
Life is.
Life's a journey with turns and twists.
Life is.
The experiences you journey with.
Life is.
Enduring those storms to make you stronger.
Life is.
Life is the reason you hold on longer.
Life is.
Life is a trip wherever you take it.
Life is.
Life in short is whatever you make it.
Life is. Life is. Life is. Life is.
Hey, yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Rob, here on Life Is. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. Our day's been fantastic. But hey, without further ado, I want to introduce my co-host, Keish. Come on out. Come on.
What's up? What's up? What's up, everyone?
Yeah.
What's up? It's Keisha in the house. How you doing today?
I can't complain, but I heard you got something you wanted to tell everybody.
Yeah, it's raining again, guys.
Again.
Again, it is raining.
Every time we do the show, it's been raining.
I know. I think we should change it to another day.
You think it should be like on a Thursday or something like that? Maybe be sunny.
Maybe, hopefully.
We can kick it around.
Well, we in Indiana. We know how that hunks.
Bipolar.
Raining, snowing, sun, sleep, everything at the same time. That's what happens in Indiana.
Welcome to Indiana.
Welcome to Indiana.
No doubt.
Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our brother in arms, Mr. Jordan Powers.
Hey. How you doing, man? Welcome.
Hello. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good today. Today's been all right.
Okay, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Born in Oklahoma City, born in '86. Mom is from Detroit. Dad's from Indianapolis. My dad was Crispus Attucks back in the '60s. Grew up in the land, 30th and Clifton. Plenty of brothers and sisters. My mom the same way. 9 brothers and sisters on her side.
That's a big family.
Big fan.
Yeah, big family.
Yes, you.
Had an uncle that was a pastor from Kentucky who was seeing a lot of the troubles like that's going on now with heroin epidemic and all that. You know, what's going on in the '60s, and he had an opportunity to move the family. So half the family split in half. Half stayed to try to, better things in Indianapolis. The other half left
Yeah.
Okay.
and went down to Oklahoma.
All right.
And that's where the rest of us came about in Oklahoma from the family up in Indianapolis.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So what was life like growing up in Oklahoma?
It was, they call it the Heartland State because everybody has a smile on their face and there's nobody that you can't ask for directions if you don't know where you at or where you're going.
Okay.
But that's also kind of like a hidden tale because growing up as a kid, you had Rodney King in '92.
Mm-hmm.
2 years later, '94, you had the Oklahoma City bombing.
Mm-hmm.
So on the next couple of days, April 9th, that'll be the anniversary day
Yeah.
for the day of the bombing.
That's right.
So growing up for us, extremely was different. As young black kids, just in elementary, I mean, you saw racism at an early age. Probably about 6 years old, first time I saw it.
Okay.
So it was, home life was cool, but being raised by parents that come from the '60s, you definitely get all the knowledge about how the world will and won't accept you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the black youth and a lot of the kids my age that came up in the '80s that probably had young parents, whereas I was lucky, and my dad was 34 by the time he had me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, my parents were much
Pretty knowledge.
older
Yeah.
than a lot of the other friends and people I knew. So I think a lot of times you miss out on those knowledge. If you don't have a mom and dad at home that's whooping you and punishing you, like, you don't understand what not to be afraid of when it comes to the police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter really what you do, but when this officer gets to the point where he's trying to intimidate you and act like he's going to threaten and put his hands on you,
Yeah.
well, now I got you beat because I'm going to take this whooping today. Because this is an unnecessary one that's going to cause a force of action that will allow me to come back after you legally.
Right.
Whereas a lot of kids don't know that growing up.
Yeah,
You
right.
never been whooped. You never had to, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
for another man to have to put their hands on you, I think it's a mental thing. A lot of people don't know how to accept it or how to take it, and the proper actions to take after the fact, if it ever happens.
I like that. Wow. That was deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So growing up, you know, my parents, my dad, you know, he never stopped me from being a boy, and he knew that he could protect me to an extent, but he also didn't want me to grow up soft. So he knew that he couldn't, you know, hinder me with too much of trying to stop me from making mistakes and getting bruises and bumps, but whoop me hard enough to understand what I'm gonna do before I do it, knowing what consequences and repercussions come with whatever actions come later.
Right.
So I always made my choices. I picked and chose what was worth getting my butt whooped for.
Right. Oh my goodness, I remember them days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely, you know, I picked and choose though. But like I said, when you got parents like that, it definitely changes how you walk about the world once you walk out their doors. So I had my ups and downs for a minute, just trying to figure myself out as a young man, and then later on just chose the Marine Corps.
Okay.
All right.
Well, what did you, before the Marine Corps, was there any other career that you wanted to have before that?
I wanted to be a computer animator.
No.
You know, I remember being a kid and growing up with Pixar and growing up with DreamWorks when all that stuff first began with Toy Story.
I was about to say Toy
Yeah,
Story.
we were a part of all that growing up.
Yeah.
We were the generation we was a part of right after Nintendo, when Sega and PlayStation. You know, I had a Nintendo as a kid, but, you know, we came with that, you know, Nintendo came while we were born. So it was a long time before the next system came. So then once Sega came, and then, you know, Dreamcast and all that stuff, now we're growing with the computer animation and the change of technology. So that was like the next best thing. And I'm an artist. I draw and I paint. So computer animation was like, I knew I could do that. That's something worth doing. You know, that was the future. Movies and everything. Like everything was being animated.
Right.
Well, what changed your mind?
Good question.
I think what changed my mind was when I actually went to the Art Institute of Phoenix, and I seen how the program operated. And you know, you're paying to go to school as if you're going to an Ivy League school. That's the first thing that kind of like throws you off. You know, you're doing $80,000 a year, and then you have to work while living in the area, and they don't have on-campus housing really. So you have to stay in apartments and stuff that's in their property area. So you got to go to school, you got to live off campus. They want you to have a regular job, so you got to pay rent, and then you also got to have these projects ready through the week for competition. And the thing at the time was, if you was on the team and y'all had all these projects, and you didn't win, you didn't get credited for anything.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So if nobody picks up your artwork, if you don't win any contests, there's nobody out there to be like, oh, we still remember you from this or we remember you from that. We liked your artwork even though you guys lost as a group. There wasn't any of that.
Wow.
You had to, even though you stayed in school, you had to actually win the competitions
Good grief.
to be recognized. So now you've paid $80,000 a year. You haven't really won any competitions. You graduate and no major stream has picked you up for any of your skills.
And you owe all that debt.
Right.
Jeez.
Now you got to find another job or something else to do with your life.
Right.
To pay off that debt.
Right.
So that wasn't going to work for me. So
Okay.
when I realized the scheme in that, I just rather would stick to doing art, just being an artist,
Yeah.
you know, and just make money that way if that way came possible.
Yeah.
And then when all else failed, I wasn't doing nothing with myself, and I was in college, Langston University, HBCU, and when I was in school, I was going to school. It was computer science and business, and I think what happened was when I was a credit shy playing football. President Obama had just won the election, and just to hear the screams and the uproars all throughout the campus like you could hear the whole campus from one end all to the other end. It was just like a wave of roars, just black people just roaring. And I walked the whole school that day, like that night, just walking, seeing everybody going crazy. And you know, when you go to HBCU, from the time you get there to the time you leave, you taught that black is power.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of lessons through the day, but with your friends, with everybody, I mean, black is power. You know what I mean? There's a lot of situations, people struggling, from ramen noodles to no noodles to can't find nothing to eat.
Yep.
Just so happen a friend knocks at your door. I mean, anything. And everything's so powerful. And when I came up with Credit Shy and realized I wasn't going to be able to play the following football season, I thought the next best thing to do, which was as a black president, this is going to be one time in history that things may happen, things may change. I want to be a part of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I left.
Join the Marines.
Yep.
All right. Where'd you go to boot camp?
I went to boot camp in Camp Pendleton.
All right.
Yeah, West Coast.
Exactly where you are.
Yep.
What was your job?
My job was 0811 combat artillery.
All
So I
right.
shot the big guns, the howitzers.
Man.
Yeah,
All right.
Boy.
yeah, that was my thing. But when we actually got to combat, that wasn't necessarily what happened. And normally, when you get the job to shoot the big guns, and they tell you that you're going to go to war, you really don't look at it as a big deal. You know, I'm shooting a howitzer gun. I'm gonna be so many miles away from the actual fight. I'm just shooting the rounds that, you know, land. So, you know, if we're back here and the fight is somewhere over here, we just shooting the rounds down range that get to wherever the fight is at to back the enemy off.
Right.
Right.
That's about it.
Right.
But when we got to Afghanistan, it was 2010. It was one of the worst times in the war since 05 to 07, because we had now flushed out of the North Afghanistan. We was in southern Afghanistan. So this was all new territory. And what ended up happening to us was we were the first provisionary unit since Vietnam.
Okay.
Oh.
Wow.
So me still being new to military stuff,
Yeah.
I'm asking all kinds of, like, what's provision? What
Yeah,
y'all
right.
talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, well, we're going to shoot artillery. We're going to shoot, we shot artillery. We shot Mach 19s. We had rocket launchers. Within the first 3 months of our mission, we shot over $13 million worth of ammunition.
Oh
Wow.
my
Yeah,
goodness.
it was going on. It was every
Wow.
single day. It was 8 hours a day. It was a firefight nonstop.
Oh my goodness.
My goodness.
Yeah, so
How
it
did
was
you-
wild.
How did you survive? What were your thoughts of being over there? How did you calm your nerves of being over there?
Good question, Keith.
Well, one, it was only 7 of us, 7 black men out of like 160 Marines.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So calming your nerve was at the end of the day, when everybody's done and they send everybody to their rooms and there's no more work to do during the day, we all find each other.
Yeah.
So that was our coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first when we got to this place called Kajaki, you know, we had our first couple, I say the first 2 weeks, every day was like a cleaning party. You know, just cleaning up the area where we were living at, making stuff a certain way. And there was like these empty, small compounds, where the people that were from there were living in, but they weren't living there anymore. It's like vacant. So they kept it, you know, for us to occupy.
Yeah.
So at the end of the night, it would get so dark because you're so close to the equator that some nights there are no stars and no moon. And, you know, we kind of knew our area, knew our ways around. It used to be this little building, and we would all meet up in this little building, just the 7 of us. And we would talk about everything that happened during the day.
So you got your own little debriefing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
debrief
debrief
each
us,
other.
we go
Yeah.
debrief each other.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
You know. And not to say for anybody who's watching, but it's definitely not a racist thing, but it's definitely a protect yourself thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, when
There's a
you're
lot of friendly fire
Well, it is. I mean, whether it be in ammo or with pen and pad.
That's right.
You know what I mean? A lot of people do friendly fire on people with pen and pad.
Yes, they do.
Right.
And so it just, for us, it was, you know, putting all the pieces together. You know, well, Sergeant so-and-so told you this. Well, Captain so-and-so said this. Well, Lieutenant so-and-so said, well, that makes sense because they ain't cahoots about this and that. And we put the whole thing together. All right, this is how we're going about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Here we go. Yep.
Once we put our pieces together, okay, this how tomorrow going to go.
Nice.
And we did that. We did that for a long time, and then friends just started falling off. So my best friend got blown up. My other friend got blown up, but he survived. His name is Anthony McDaniels. He from Mississippi. He survived. He does like Prince Henry's like Olympic Games for like military people. He does that.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's living good now. He's in Pensacola with his children.
Good, that's good.
He's a triple amputee.
All right, shout out.
Yeah. So Anthony,
Thank you for your
All
service.
right.
Absolutely.
So Anthony, he lost here, and his left arm. And then my closest friend, Jackson Francisco, he took a knee and onto an IED. Didn't realize the IED. When he tried to reset himself, he went up. Yeah. So he was from Jersey. The one I got on my wrist is Sergeant Signs. We were patrolling with him together, like going up this crop field, and we were like I don't even want to say half a football field away from each other. We could have been about 50 yards. Couldn't have been that far from each other. You kind of hear everybody in the middle of the night. He went through a tree line and hit an IED right before we were pulling up on the Taliban's compound. Like right before we were getting there, we were right there where the compound was at, not too many yards from it. We got out, took a knee, getting ready to figure out what the next move was about to be. We were waiting on them to come through the tree line. When we came through, he just went up about 4 in the morning. And when they fell out, it was my first time. It was all of our first time really actually seeing the Taliban. We've been waiting for a while. We've been chasing them through the woods, chasing them through the crop fields. They not where they supposed, not where we're hearing them to be, and this and that and the other. But it's they land, so it took a minute to realize like they kind of playing chess with us.
Yeah.
They got us fading one way, and they're really watching us from over here.
Exactly.
They got spotters in the mountains, which we already knew. But you wouldn't think that the message was relaying so fast. So it was like we couldn't cover
Right.
all the ground.
Exactly.
So on this particular night, when Sergeant Signs got blown up, that's when they all kind of like fell out. And it would seem like it was just a few of them. It had to be the crop fields because it was like they were expanding this way. Ended up being like 100 men with flashlights, and they were coming our direction.
Oh, man.
So, some of us kind of froze up because we had the big artillery.
Yeah.
So nobody was thinking to run.
Right.
I carried a saw, so I carried 200-round drum on the front, 200-round drum on the hip, and 2 800-round drums in my backpack.
Wow.
So I was just prepared to
Yeah,
just
you were ready.
Yeah.
burn the crops down.
Right.
Exactly.
And it took them to kind of snap 3 or 4 of us out of it. Like, nah, just come on, let's just go.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when you see something like that for the first time, you kind of, at first you think it's over. You know what I mean? Like, who's running where? Like, it's
Right.
100 people in front of us. Like, we're going to have to deal with this now.
Exactly.
But we eventually got away because the helo came to pick him up. And they don't necessarily run up on stuff like that because it's heavy artillery with the helo. So, it gave us an opportunity to pull back while he's getting lifted. Once he got lifted and they took off, of course they left them at a pause and they gave us opportunity to keep moving. And so we just went on back to the 5 and then on to another day and another day and another day. So, my experience in Afghanistan was like, it was a roller coaster every single day.
My goodness.
Yeah. Some people go overseas and, you overseas. You get hazard pay, you get combat pay, but everybody don't actually get a chance to go to combat.
That's true.
So, combat is a totally different world.
And so after all of that, how are you mentally now? How has that affected your life when you came back to the United States? How did that affect your life?
I had to stay away from my kids for the first year
Wow.
because you're so used to pulling guns on kids overseas.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people see things and particularly I just think as white people, they see certain things and based on how their lives are so creditable and they're able to live it. And when you try to make those arguments with them here in America, they get defensive because they don't truly understand. They feel like everybody's got the same equal or less value to have an opportunity. And it's not till they actually get overseas and they see third world countries and they see like what people really think of them based on the history and the foundation of how people of color have been treated.
Yeah.
So when it's time to do something to certain people that you feel like may not have deserved it or couldn't justify for themselves, you come back feeling like real torn down about possibly who you are.
Yeah.
Me as a black man, I didn't feel none of that. You know, he bad as hell.
Yeah.
So if we can't whoop him, we gonna get shot today.
Right.
I mean, you know, it's not about, well, it's a kid or it's this or that. It's a child, but the same way we send our kids out the door and we give them rules before they go to school, you know, this is what I need you to do when you're in class. I don't want to hear no thing. I don't want to hear, they get in the same direction.
Yeah. I want to go back a little bit when you say pulling a gun out on a kid.
Yeah.
What were they doing? Tell me, how did they interact with you all as being soldiers?
The kid's job was to come out into the fields and play the kid role.
Yeah.
Talk to you, try to play with you, act like they can't speak English. And the whole time that they sitting around, a lot of times they're not saying nothing. They listening to the conversations. And then they go back and the elder asks them, what did you learn today?
Yeah.
And they'll say maybe 3 or 4 different words. And out of those words, the elders decipher the words and figure out what was important and what had been talked about. There's always like a teenager around. There's always a 13-year-old, no more than a 17-year-old, and the rest of them are just kids. And they kind of sit in the cut and just kind of watch. And the kids are all playing around, and they kind of make it seem like they're telling the kids no or don't, but they're really not. Everybody's paying attention to you. So
Collecting intel.
everybody's collecting information and running it back.
Yeah.
So, you know, one day one of the kids got too close to my staff sergeant and walked up on him from behind, and he pulled his flashlight up off of him. So I just locked back and stuck it in his face.
Oh my goodness.
You know, just power's down. I said, nah, I'm gonna do it. He gonna give it back to you, or he gonna be all over the ground. And you know, they put the other kids at a standstill. But a lot of them don't understand. Like, yeah, we here together, we motivated together. But like I told you, at the end of the night, the 6 or 7 of us, we get together and we gonna, you know, debrief each other about how the next day and the next day gonna go. You know, you wouldn't run up on your mom and daddy and do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like we can smack you on the hand or none of that over here. You know, so you couldn't be afraid and you couldn't wonder or feel like you did something bad. I never did because I felt like I don't know them kids. I know the kids I got at home.
Right.
And it's my job to get back home to mine.
There you go.
So whatever takes place,
Yeah.
I'm not about to feel bad about none of this because it just comes with the job. Some people sign up for patriotism. You know, I do this for America. That's cool. I just do this for the extra rice grain and mustard seed that I don't have that the rest of America's getting. So when this is all said and done, I go back home and you see those ribbons and you see that bronze star and those, you know, you see all that, those accolades.
Right.
You know, just give me that little piece.
Yeah.
Because it does look like a whole pie to the rest of the world. But sometimes it's just a slice.
You're right.
And that's all you need is that slice. But we don't get that slice. You know, as African Americans, we don't get it. So, you know, we got a lot of neighborhoods and a lot of people telling folks, don't go to the military for this, don't go to the military for that. And that's cool when you giving somebody the history of what was going on in the 50s,
Yeah,
the
that
60s,
time.
and the 70s.
That
That's
time
it right
frame,
there.
yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. But now we living in a time that relates to our ancestors from the 30s and the 40s.
Yes, sir.
Right.
You know, it's open season. They didn't even want us here.
Right.
Now we got the opportunity to be here. So I need that extra piece of the pie. I know when I come back home, they're going to treat me like whatever. But I need to go see the rest of the world. I need to go see how they treat us over here and over there. And a lot of them did get better treatment, and they didn't want to come back to America.
True.
True.
Wow.
And even with Vietnam, a lot of those missing in actions, they weren't really missing in action. They just never came back. You know, Vietnam was that type of war that it was perfectly imperfect. There's a lot of death and there's a lot of stuff going on that was wild and crazy. But here's an opportunity for people to get a second chance at life.
Right.
A lot of people being sent because the judge said you got to go.
That's right.
Right. That's so
That's right.
true.
There was
So
more
true.
of that going on during the draft than it was people
Yeah.
just going just to be going. Like,
Yep.
if you grew up in a impoverished neighborhood, you had to go. If you had some type of legal issues and you were a black man, you're going. If you didn't make a certain GPA coming out of high school to even get accepted for a college, you're going. And then if you were going to a college but you were black and there was a choice between choosing you or a white person, you're going.
Yeah.
So it was a second opportunity for a lot of black men to never come back.
Yeah.
To the life they knew.
Yeah, and they never came back. They never came back.
Wow.
And a lot of people wonder why, when you look at a lot of the Asian community now, why they're such a darker color, because a lot of black men stayed behind. They made kids. They stayed and started a whole new life.
That's right.
So, you know, it's a lot of history that a lot of people don't know. Afghanistan scared me just off the stories of Genghis Khan. You know, it was the only place that he never got to rule. And they cut his body parts up and put them in different parts of the country so that folks knew when they came to Afghanistan this was nothing to play with.
Yep.
It's one of the only places since the Bible there's no story of Afghanistan being overrun. And if you look at it now, we had to leave Afghanistan. Gave it back to them, and whatever's going on is going on.
That's right.
You know, so with the kids of today, the generation, like, I don't tell them not to go.
Right.
Just be careful and pick wisely on how you choose to go. Because as young black men and Latino men, like, we need that opportunity. You need that little piece of the pie. You just do. You're gonna struggle any other way trying to get it. You know, so for the people telling you not to go and don't do this and don't do that, those are their fears. You can't be afraid of nothing in this world, especially if it's gonna get you further. So I
That's
did
right.
it.
Right about that.
Wow.
Yeah, I
So,
did it.
how is your relationship with your kids now?
Good. Yeah, it was good. It got better over time. But my kids really appreciate it, which is the crazy thing. They look at Dad as a hero. I think it's different.
You are a hero.
Right, but you know, when you hear it on TV and you see people say it, you know, like, it's cool. You be like, oh, yeah, that's dope. Then it becomes you and your children. And, like, sometimes you got to look at your kids and wonder, you know what I'm saying, like, how they really think about you. When they hear what they hear, you do
Yeah.
what you do.
That's right.
Yeah.
My godfather, when Iraq first happened, and they made, my godfather and my godmother both did 32 years in the Air Force.
Okay.
He's an Alpha, she's an AKA. And when the war first happened, they didn't care what rank you was. They were making everybody do a year and a half tours. And my godfather was one of those people. So just to see the transition of how he was when he came back home, you know, he was just different. His mannerisms, everything. But it kind of made me understand how my kids kind of saw me. Like, he did. He doesn't stand that tall. My godfather probably about 5'7". But it was just the stature of man. Like, he came back different.
Yeah.
Like, almost like this Luke Cage type of mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's too much for America. And he has very good control, you know, himself. Very smart man, mathematician. But it's something that it's hard to deal with because you have to condone yourself in so many other mannerisms. Even as high as a rank and you're still in the military, when you're dealing with other people and they don't have that combat background and they talking to you about your character, your personality, and how you need to be when you're here or you're there. I mean, it builds up in you. And I think the difference for me was I was so much younger. So, you know, just to do things or to just jump off the whim, it was more natural. You know what I mean? Because you had nothing to control you. So it was like I kind of understood where my kids was coming from, about how they looked at me, how they saw me based on where I'd been and what I had done.
Yeah.
They knew my friends had died. I'm the only one to come home out of 54 recruits.
Oh my
Wow.
Yeah, everybody else is dead.
Wow.
Oh
So
my goodness.
Wow.
there was a lot of things that went through my mind as well. You know, I've never been one to question God, but I've always wondered certain things.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, just what truly is my purpose.
There it is.
So many people dead and gone. So many other people, like even my closest friend, he was just, to me, he was just a better Marine than me about how he carried himself and handled certain situations.
Sure.
You know, whereas they'll ask me to do something, I just don't care. You know, I'll take the punishment. I don't care what you're talking about. You know, just certain people that had rank, you know, and that, my higher ups would get on to me about it sometimes. You know, powers, you know, there's nothing over the rank. It's the rank that, you know, it's rank over everything. And I say, I understand, sir, but it's the person that's carrying the rank. You know, you want me to listen to the rank, but the rank's not talking. The person
understand
is. And,
Yes,
you know,
true.
so he wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't feel no type of way, you know. His name is Gunnery Sergeant Scott. He's Camp Lejeune, but he was one of my mentors, and he was a staff sergeant at the time. And every time I got into it with somebody, it was weird. He was just always around. Always around. Never, you know, I would look around before I got into it with somebody to make sure I could get away with it. And then I'd get right into it, and then out of nowhere, this
Right
big buff white dude with this soft voice. I saw that, Powers. We need to talk. Thought I got away with it. He always was there. So, I mean, he was a good dude, but he used to pressure that. But when I said it to him one day, I mean, at this point, we in Afghanistan. So now when I'm telling him, you know what I mean, like, you telling me it's the rank, but the rank doesn't have a voice. This person that has the rank has a voice.
Right.
So respecting the rank is yes, corporal, yes, sergeant, you know, aye, but when this person particularly is talking and it has nothing to do with the plan of the day or rules or anything, you're just talking from a personal aspect of how you feel about me.
Right.
Well, I'm dealing with the person. So if the rank is going to get me in trouble because that's what he had on that day,
Right.
Yes.
then okay, I'll get in trouble for that. But I'm not about to just be doing whatever he's talking about doing.
Right.
And so he understood at that point, you know, he just wanted me to control more of my actions towards certain people.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want it to look like it was okay for other E3s,
Yeah.
E2s, E1 to,
Yeah.
Be
you know,
disrespectful.
be the same way. He
Yeah.
didn't want it to look disrespectful. You know, pick and choose where and when. So,
Yep.
I mean, it was one of those type of situations. It was definitely different. The Marines is definitely different. And coming home, authority was definitely a problem. Definitely
How?
had an authority problem.
How?
You're just not afraid of what the police talking about. I came home, and within maybe 2 years, that's when all the police brutality started happening. So, I mean, you just immediately get this sense of an urgency, like, just immediate. Like, I don't care if I'm driving down the street, whatever. I'm not stopping and waiting for you to get out the car. As soon as I pull the car over, I'm getting out. We're going to talk outside.
Oh my goodness.
You know, it worried my dad for a long time.
Yeah, that would, yeah.
Understandably so.
Very
Yeah.
Yeah.
It worried him.
I'll be calling you. Where you at? What you doing?
He got real bad. He got real worried when the situation in Milwaukee happened, because you know he knew things in Indianapolis was going on, and you know he was worried, and you know Jordan, you know I want you out and running around, and you know if the police this and that. I said, Dad, I can't do it. You know, I'm 200 plus pounds. I'm 6 feet tall. I said the officers see me, they're gonna immediately start something. I said, so if I get pulled over, I'm getting out the car. I'm not waiting for the officer to walk up on me. And it did. It happened twice. You know, the officers here got really tense with the black community. They didn't like the protesting. They didn't like blacks standing up for their rights here. They didn't
Right.
appreciate it because they're so used to locking us up, making us sign plea deals for 10 and 20 years longer than an extended mouth is necessary. A lot of our young black youth here are illiterate. They don't really know the paperwork in which they're reading to actually put up a fight for themselves before they can actually afford a good lawyer.
Right.
These public defenders are kind of just like going with the flow. A lot of them kind of act like high school kids when it comes to the lawyers and the AD's office and stuff, because those are the popular guys and you want to be around the popular table. And you want to sit with them downtown at the dinner table, so you're going to do whatever they tell you to do, even though you're representing this person. And then you know that this person doesn't understand a lot of the verbal skill of the words that you're throwing at them. And so you make them believe that this is what needs to go on
Right.
for them to be okay. And now they clinked up.
Yeah.
So when black people started standing up here, the officers got really timid. They started riding around more. They started riding up on people that they didn't, if you just black in the car, they're just following you through the neighborhood, just being a nuisance to you. And so it happened to me twice. Being followed home, coming right out the gas station. You saw a black face making a right turn. So you just sped the car up and you followed me. So I sped my way home through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the second time it happened was out on New York Street. Officer followed me for a little while. And I banked real quick and made a left. He tried to bang back 2 blocks, and he was going to try to catch me coming up. But I seen the alley and went down the alley. And, you know, a lot of these things, they don't know about where other people come from, and you know what I mean? There's too many ways to maneuver and do certain things that you shouldn't have to do. But I've had my scares. I remember coming here through St. Louis, Ferguson. Bus driver got so angry he just left us.
What?
He just
In
left.
Ferguson?
What?
No, in St. Louis.
In St. Louis? Yeah, I actually live in St. Louis.
They
What?
got off.
Wow.
The bus drivers just left. They left Greyhound.
Oh,
Everybody left and went to Ferguson.
oh man, wow.
They had to call somebody to come in to work. We were there for 6 hours.
Oh my
wow.
goodness.
You know, it was such a rage. It was, you know, it was
Yeah,
happening. It was right
yeah,
then and there.
right.
So everybody was in such a rage that
Yeah.
they just left. I was in Atlanta when Trayvon Martin was killed. You know, just to be one state away.
Yeah.
Wow,
Like I was everywhere I've been, everywhere I touched down. Like my uncle calls me a time traveler. My uncle Witt, he calls me a time traveler. Cause like everywhere I've been since I came home from war, I've been somewhere and some type of police brutality is happening. You know, the history of the things that's been going on these last, almost seems like a decade. I've been somewhere through the Midwest and something's going on.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit more about being associated with police.
Being associated with police, black officers is cool. I feel like a lot of times, a lot of our brothers that are police don't get the break they deserve. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of black men join the police force because of the things that they saw growing up in the neighborhood, right along with all the other people that grew up with them. But there was nobody to make a difference for them.
Okay.
There was no black officers to come onto the block and patrol the black neighborhoods and protect the black neighborhoods. And if you got into it with a white officer, there was no black officer to pull up and ask what's going on.
Right.
Calm the white officer down. Well, let me deal with someone. I know this family. I know the white officers do it for white kids all the time. They know your last name, where your family stay. Oh, he's from Carmel. He's from Geis. I'll take care of this. I got
Yeah.
this. And the other officer would just walk off, regardless of what was going on. We don't have that. So a lot of black men do. They join the force for those particular reasons. A lot of black men join the SWAT team and the gang task force because that's the closest way to get to the kids of the families that they might know or related to. Because when those cases drop and they put the clink on, I was there when your son got arrested. I was there when so-and-so. Here's who I need you to call. Woo. But now, with the turn of music and, you know, with drill music and a lot of the things going on, a lot of these kids, they just dumb. You know, you see the black officer coming, and you treat him like he's the other guy. And you don't give him the opportunity to try to ask you what's going on, try to help you. Because he could be trying to ask you, what did Officer Stanley just say or do to you? Let me know. That way he can make a report
Right.
and possibly help you
Right.
in your discovery in certain situations that may not even get you all the way locked up. Why? Because you were wrongfully arrested or you were wrongfully accused of something.
Right.
Or he could have slammed you on the ground, left you there, and never read you your Miranda rights.
Right.
That's enough to get you. There's certain gray areas that's enough to get you out of certain situations. But if you don't give this black man a chance, you'll never know what help really is. So when it comes to police, yeah, I know a lot of black officers that patrol and work downtown. But with white officers, it's different for me. I feel like you got to stand strong. There's only so many that you're gonna meet that's actually gonna be cool. But like I said, with my height, my body size, my beard, a lot of people mistaking me for Muslim. I'm just not gonna play with you. I don't have time.
Okay. So, I want you to tell me about the incident that you were involved in.
An incident that's dealt with the police. I was about 20. One time hanging out at the gas station, and a fight broke out, and no officers, nobody pulled up, and it was this old black guy working at 7-Eleven. And we knew this black guy. That's why we always hung out at that gas station. He was always out there at the end of the night. Like, he would only take that shift. Everybody was scared of that shift because of what was going on outside the station. But whenever you saw him, everybody knew to kind of calm down. Everybody was going to mess with no elders. And he always took that shift. And it had to be about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And this officer came out of nowhere. And my other friends, we were on both sides of 7-Eleven. They were getting in their car, they was leaving. We was all saying goodnight to each other. I was walking by myself over to my car, and he sped onto the thing, and he didn't actually pull up on my car. He stopped maybe 10, 15 feet and jumped out of his car with his weapon already pulled. And he already had the gun on me. I hadn't even got around to the door. He was like, "Don't move, don't move. You stand right there." And I'm just standing there, and my friends see it. So they get out the car, they start walking my way. He still got the gun on me and asked me to get behind the car. I get behind the car, he grabs me from the back and slams me onto the car. And he starts asking me about what went on up here and this, that, and the other. And he got really upset because I kind of laughed at him. But I didn't feel like there was nothing else to do. Like, I'm not afraid of you, but you late, you real late. And you got the wrong person. The person that saved me was the old man. Came up to 7-Eleven. Told the officer, I called y'all over an hour ago. These boys just been up here with me, just keeping me protected. They just been hanging out and chilling. You need to let that boy go. And he said something smart to the old man and put his gun back in his holster and walked off and got back in his car and left. That was just one incident with the police. There's been others. It just takes time to try to remember it. I've never taken the time out to talk about it or try to relate to it because, to me, once it happens, it happens. So you got a choice. Either you're going to be afraid of the police all your life, or that one time it's going to happen and you're going to tell you not again. Next time we see each other, we're going to be face to face. I've dealt with it downtown, not where the police have had to be aggressive and put their hands and stuff on me, but where I'm standing to you, we nose to nose, we eye to eye.
Yeah.
And the one thing that they hate the most is when we're talking like this. And my voice gets deeper, I get more aggressive with you, but we talking like this. I don't got my hands all over the place, I'm not cussing at you, we're not wilding out. They really don't like that. They need you to be aggressive. They need you to be crazy. That's just how they look at you. That's they need you to act like an animal so they can detain you. And when you don't do it, they don't really know how to act. And a lot of them have never seen military force too. That's a lot of it. A lot of them have no military presence. The ones who do, you can tell, they either talk a little different or they work behind a desk. A lot of them don't patrol the streets. When you have a lot of veterans that work in the police department, they're not over the streets. That's just not what they do. They like behind the scenes.
Okay, what happened? Talk a little bit about the Veterans Court.
Veterans Court. Veterans Court. How I got involved in Veterans Court was even before I caught a case. I was going to the VA, and for a lot of veterans out there that aren't getting the proper help, or only getting a little bit, or you know, you in that depressive state where sometimes you may go to counseling, other times you know you got an appointment, and you just choose not to go or be bothered with it. You need to get back involved. And when you go to VA, you need to ask for a caseworker, because a lot of veterans go to the VA and get counsel, but they don't have a caseworker.
So would that be like talking to a social worker to get them involved? Okay.
Well, a caseworker, if you go to the VA and you have regular counseling, you can even go to the front desk and talk to somebody, just be like, you know, I get counseled here, but I don't have a caseworker. I don't have nobody to help me find a place to live, help me get clothes on my back, get food, you know, on my table. Like, that's what the caseworker job is for the VA.
Yeah.
And when you get involved with a caseworker, what ends up happening is they have you start signing some paperwork. And one of the items that they have you sign is a legal form that if you get into any trouble with the law, that they're supposed to call your caseworker, get in touch with the VA, and let them know they have a veteran in cuffs.